So now we're being joined by Laura Patsouris, the author of Weaving Memory, an incredible book on ancestor work.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to ask about your thoughts on sacrifice. There's been a little bit of controversy surrounding it recently due to some articles on Patheos, and I was just interested in what all of your perspectives were.
Yeah, I read those articles on Patheos, and some of the commenters are a special kind of stupid. I think...
Tell us how you actually feel.
Don't hold back.
Never be said that I held back. I think it's absolutely essential. I don't... It's hard for me to understand why the idea... And by sacrifice, let me be clear, there are a lot of different ways to sacrifice. I can make up a dish of food and give that to my gods, and the time and the effort and the energy that I put into that is a sacrifice. The controversy is specifically surrounding animal sacrifice. This is one of the holiest and most sacred rites in a number of religions, including heathenry, including Lukumi, including, I would imagine, Dionysian.
Yeah, Greek and Egyptian stuff. I mean, and to show just how important sacrifice is, you look back in late antiquity, and the first thing that the Christians targeted was sacrifice, with laws and all of that stuff, because sacrifice is so essential to the religion, and not just to the religion, but to the whole community and the well-being of the land. And so if you're going to destroy a religion, destroy sacrifice.
It's your way of maintaining right relationship with your gods. It's a way of entering into a very powerful conversation with them. I mean, I look at it this way. By making sacrifice, you are giving them a reservoir of energy to act in this world on your behalf. You are giving them one of the greatest and the most sacred gifts that you can. And I hear people say, well, I wouldn't want to see an animal put through pain, blah, blah, blah. Do you eat store-bought meat?
Yeah, unless you're a vegan, you really have no objection. That's valid.
An animal being sacrificed is treated very well because it is a sacred offering. This creature is carrying your wishes and your intentions and your blessings to the realm of the ancestors and the realm of the gods. And that animal is treated like a king. And the sacrifice must be done quickly and cleanly. There's no room for hesitation and no room for error.
Yeah, and I also want to say that it's completely bullshit to say that you can't, sacrifice an animal, but you have no problem, offering up vegetables and fruits. Because plants have life too. Plants have consciousness. Science, especially in the last decade or so, is constantly showing this. And, so you're just prioritizing one form of life over another, so...
And that's something that I as a spirit worker, I can't prioritize one form of life over another. And more to the point, it comes down to the fact that this is what the gods want.
That's the key thing, because my background is in Santeria, and the abo that when we're called to do sacrifice, the abo that we make, it's part of our contract in fulfilling our service to our Orisha, to serving the gods. They're very capable of letting us know, and they do let us know via divination. They let you know what is expected, what abo is required. And they've been carried out this way for thousands and thousands of years. And the ashe, that the power that is accumulated generation after generation of these sacrificial offerings being made at the appropriate time, that's how we stay in right relationship. That's how we interface and exchange that energy with our gods. And when people come, and I love that point of, if people are willing, and most of the people who are squawking the loudest about the animal sacrifice issue, they're not vegans. Like, they're sitting there and they're talking about how they justify themselves eating a cheeseburger. So I'm like, so you mean to tell me, you're telling me that your desire to have a barbecue is more important than what your God is asking you to give? Because it's not ours. It's not our job to figure out what we think we ought to give them. That's not our job. My job is to shut up and do what the fuck I'm told.
Amen.
That's my job. And that's what I do. If Chango wants it, Chango's going to get it.
If
And
Odin wants it, Odin's
they're
going to
get it. So it's like I'm on a need-to-know basis. I don't need to know the entire plan. I don't even have to have a diagram. I don't have to have a mental image of why Chango wants this. Because people asking, why does Elegua need a rooster? I don't know why Elegua needs a rooster, but Elegua wants a rooster, so he's going to get a rooster. That's not a big surprise. I'm like, this is your barrio wisdom.
Yep.
Ashe.
And the gifts of the gods are material. You know, we see them all around us constantly. So why shouldn't the gifts that we give to the gods also be material? You know, it's not enough just to think happy thoughts with them. You know, that's because what you're going to get back is just happy thoughts. You know, and if you're content with that, fine. But you know, religion is real and it's about life. And
right. And the gods are real, and they have preferences. If Elegua wanted a salad, I'd be sitting there with a salad shooter. But Elegua doesn't want a salad. Elegua wants a rooster. Elegua's getting a rooster. It's really not that difficult, and I don't understand. I'm like, maybe you can explain to me, right? Because English was my first language. So I'm like, maybe you can explain it to me, because I apparently have a cultural deficit, because I don't understand why if Elegua is asking for something, if you have a guest come into your home, they ask you for something. I want a pizza. I don't think I want to give you a pizza. Have a carrot. No. That's not how you roll.
To hospitality.
Exactly. Hospitality. Thank you. You have someone who is important and sacred, and they're coming into your home. They're coming into your life. They're saving your life, because that's what the Orishas have done. I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for Chango. Chango saved my life. So I'm like, listen, I'm going to do what he wants me to do. If he wanted some alfalfa sprouts, but if in 6,000 years he has yet to ask for a sprout, I don't think he's going to have like a hallelujah moment and all of a sudden start worrying about his cholesterol.
And the same holds for Odin, and the same holds for Frey and Freya and all of the Norse gods. If Odin wants a pig, Odin's getting the goddamn best pig I can find.
Word.
Yeah, and like Dionysus, I mean, like half of his titles involve sacrifice and, you know, savage and carnivorous and, you know, he who eats raw flesh, you know, and who tears apart. So, you know, like there's this whole history and this whole, you know, all of his aspects and culture and stuff that you have to completely ignore if you're going to, you know, exclude that. So
Absolutely. And I think that we need to get over this idea, A, that we are the apex predator in the food chain, B, that the world revolves around us, and C, that our comfort has any fucking thing to do with what's right.
Going back to Dionysus, I mean, even pouring out wine, that is basically a sacrifice, because he is present in those grapes, and those grapes get crushed and stomped, and, you know, it's a bloody, horrible thing, but that's how you get wine, you know. So,
and to bring the gift of wine to humanity, a man was sacrificed. You know, the first person to whom he gave the ritual of making wine.
Oh yeah, most of his prophets met with horrible, horrible ends, you know.
So, in many traditions that have sacrifices a part of them, there are people highly trained in those traditions to perform those sacrifices. So for someone outside of one of those traditions who feels this call from one of their deities or spirits for this sacrifice, what would your advice be to them? I
would say go find someone, even if you have to cross traditions, who has the appropriate training, who is a knife carrier, who can do who is willing to facilitate the sacrifice for you. I mean, certainly, you know, House Sankofa, our house is a mixed house. If someone came to me and I verified by divination that this deity wanted this sacrifice done, but this person was not trained in that, and I got the go-ahead, again, verified through divination, I would do it for someone. It's more important to me that the gods get what they want, and what they need, and what they say is required to facilitate right relationship with their people, than that I'm comfortable. There are people, in heathenry, there are people trained to do sacrifice. In Santeria, there is a special class of there's special initiation where you are trained to do sacrifice. You know, show me the indigenous tradition that does not have a specially trained class of technicians who can facilitate sacrifice. I don't know what that tradition would be. We do not know better than our ancestors. It is something with the modern mind that we think that we have evolved, and we have devolved instead. We do not know better how to relate to the powers than our ancestors did. And our ancestors understood that sacrifice was essential to the mystery that is religious engagement.
And when we engage with our ancestors, when we tap into that, because we all, no matter what our background is, we all, if you go far back enough, all come from indigenous and tribal cultures. We all have ancestors who understood these ways and understood these traditions. And those are resources and memories that can be accessed and can be tapped. And one of the things that we can begin to do as we struggle to improve our service to our gods and to be right in right relationship and right balance with our gods is also engage with our ancestors, because they will teach us.
Absolutely.
They will guide us, take us in hand, and they will teach us what we need to do and how we need to go about this, because they're a tremendous repository of ashe, of blessing, of strength, and we have them who have like walked these paths before. So those things are very important, to have that connection, because they knew how to do this right. Yeah. Even if you're coming from a culture where it hasn't been done for a long period of time, you have ancestors that did know how to do it correctly.
And I think, so like most people, their whole idea of where their food comes from is the grocery store. Like cows come in little nice packages of, cellophane and plastic, and that's where you get your food from. But that was an animal, that was a living thing once, and you should be able to look that in the eyes and know what it's losing in order for you to continue and you to grow strong and have life, and that's what sacrifice does, is it forces you to be engaged with the cycle of life and all of the stuff that's going on, and because it's all this intricate web, and everything in modern society is about isolating you and keeping you separate from everything else that's going on, and safe and sanitized and secure, and sacrifice challenges that in a very fundamental way. And I think that's why a lot of people have some deep-seated issues, and it really frightens them and squicks them out, because it forces that engagement.
I read a book by Jamie Oliver, who is a chef who goes into British schools, and he tries to teach about healthy organic nutrition. And he said that in every single class to which he speaks, he'll hold up celery, and there'll be students who don't know what that is. There will be kids that don't understand that the nice cellophaned hamburger came from a living cow, she said. Or he'll hold up a potato, and none of them know, they don't recognize it. But they all know the sign for McDonald's, and they all know the sign for Burger King and Wendy's and the other fast food places. I mean, that's the type of disconnection with which we're faced in our society at large. I know that the first time that I did a sacrifice for one of my gods, it completely changed the way that I engage with food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it gave me so much more respect and comprehension of my place in that cycle.
Yeah, and like we have no idea what's going on. Like, the cows that we're eating come from all the way across the country, sometimes other countries, and they've had to travel all this way here, and we don't know what happened to them in the process. We don't know what was added into the meat to make it safe to travel that way. They dump ammonia and bleach and stuff in that to kill bacteria, and that's just messed up. Whereas if you're killing the animal, what is there, or if you get your meat from like a local butcher that you can actually talk to and verify and know what's going on,